Hello, welcome. Today we're going to talk about LINSTOR and some of our competitors out there. And I just wanted to give a quick introduction. I'm Kelsey Swan, and I work here at Limbit for about 7 years now, and I help out with the sales team here.
Thanks, Kelsey. So this is Yusuf from Limbit, and I'm the solution architect with over 10 years of IT experience in helping people and companies to implement solutions they want.
My name is Will Mapp, and I help head up marketing business development on the US side.
All right, so I just want to give you guys a quick overview of kind of who Limbit is, and then we can kind of get into our competitors and more of like the core presentation here. So we have over 20 years of experience. Our CEO, Phil Reisner, created DRBD in '99, and we have offices on 2 different continents, here in Portland, Oregon, where I am at today, as well as our headquarters over in Vienna, Austria. So DRBD is a lot of you are probably already familiar with DRBD. So that's our distributed replicated storage system for the Linux platform. It's been in the Linux kernel since 2009, and it's just implemented as a kernel driver. I'm sure a lot of you, again, are familiar, and it's open source, and it can be used locally, usually to just build your traditional HA clusters. You can also scale out and use it for software-defined storage pools on environments like Kubernetes or OpenStack. So that's HA. Moving to disaster recovery, that's our DRBD proxy software. So that enables asynchronous data replication from your primary to a DR location anywhere in the world. It works in the cloud. It works between campuses. We see have a lot of like educational customers that use it just to ensure any protection during a site outage. And then our software-defined storage solution is what we're going to be talking about today. So that's LINSTOR. Probably a lot of you are also familiar with LINSTOR. It's open source, and it's what's used to create, remove, and manage storage. So it has a native integration into Kubernetes. So that makes building and running and controlling all the block storage a lot more simple. It has a container storage interface, the CSI driver for Kubernetes, and is compatible with OpenShift as well. So it's generally deployed via the LINSTOR operator. Normally, I like to mention most recently an IOPS record that I don't know if you guys have heard about, but Intel uses LINSTOR to provision NVMe over Fabric storage for their rack scale design product. And we just recently did a performance test with them where we measured 14.8 million IOPS on a 12-node cluster, just from standard off-the-shelf sort of servers from Intel. And it's kind of important to mention just because talking about competitors, it's the highest storage performance reached by hyperconverged storage system on the market today. So Microsoft managed to reach like 13.7 million IOPS, and StorePool kind of topped that a little bit with 13.8 million IOPS. So we have our 14.8 million IOPS, and it was about a 7% increase, and it's important, and so important that we wrote a blog about it. So I'll drop a link on that in our chat if you want to check that out. All right, there we go. All right, go ahead, Yusuf.
Thank you, Kelsey. Now, let me explain what LINSTOR is and why it's making our life easier. So basically put, LINSTOR is an operator for your storage claims in Linux servers or storages, all right? It has basically 2 components. One of them is the LINSTOR controller in the middle. It has to be one at least, obviously, but you can make an high available one. And the rest of them are LINSTOR satellites on each node. It could be multiple because you might have multiple nodes, right? So controller is basically maintaining the satellites and carrying out the disk operations that is coming from the application, right? So controller in LINSTOR controller speaks 2 languages as usual. One of them is API, and the other one is CLI. Through that interfaces, you can send some commands to create, delete, modify the disks that you already created. And both services are stateless, and both controller and the satellite are stateless, which I will explain a bit later today. And after you create some disk devices in LINSTOR, you need an interface to use them. Like you can see in the picture on the right-hand side here, and we are supporting all major systems like Kubernetes, VMware through iSCSI, OpenNebula through the driver, or OpenShift, and many more like that. So this is a brief introduction of LINSTOR. We have a lot more info on our website, on YouTube, or sometimes we are doing like webinars for deep diving. So please follow us on social media so you can check that out later on. So now here comes the core of this webinar, the holy comparison chart with our competitors. And before we start, I want to say something to our guests here. So we collected these feature sets from the respective websites of the products. And we recently collect these, but they might be changed during the time. So please be aware of that. Some might be changed. We don't know that. If it's changed and we don't know that, please tell us so we can change the chart. All right, let me start. So I really don't like to talk in marketing words because it doesn't feel okay to me. And the plain simple is gold for me, right? So I will start from the support pricing point in here. So basically put, LINSTOR's support cost per gigabyte is way more cheaper than everyone in the list, period. It's cheaper. But this is happening, this is cheaper because while all of the products are in the list, which they are good, I'm not saying they're bad, all of these products in the list, their development phase needs a lot of effort and investment, all right? But the thing is, our development is continuing for over 20 years now, and our products are open source and widely backed by the community. That's why we can give lower prices on the product per gigabyte. So another point worth mentioning here is a multi-platform support and the data locality. But before mentioning them, just let me try to explain a little bit about these features. What are they, all right? So data locality actually, all right, so you have data and the CPU to make something, right? To make something out of that data. So data locality is the process of moving the computation close to where the actual data resides instead of moving the data to computation. So if you separate the data from the CPU, let's say you have some disaggregated storage stacks, that means you have something in the middle, like networking layer or something, right? So to compute the data, you have to move the data from the storage to CPU. But the data locality is bringing them together, like hyperconverged systems, something like that. So as you can see on the table, there are few companies are managed to provide data locality, and LINSTOR obviously is one of them. And by the way, it's good to mention here, we also support shared storage environments. So back to the subject. So you can use the local disks while providing replication without any problem with LINSTOR, with over 20 years of experience, obviously. And also in the table, other companies and products are also providing this data locality, but the LINSTOR is doing that on multi-platform. So this means so you can use LINSTOR pretty much everywhere that runs Linux, or even hypervisors to create hyper-converged infrastructures. And one more thing to mention here about this list that I can say clearly is the full support of NVMe over Fabrics. If you are following the storage market closely, nowadays NVMe is becoming a de facto for high I/O workloads because it solves two major problems in one product. So one is the network overhead, and the other one is the slow disk performance. And we as Limbit are closely following the industry developments and implement the solutions in our products very quickly. And NVMe over Fabric is actually one of them. From the very early stages, we tested and implemented that in LINSTOR, so you can use the NVMe over Fabrics with LINSTOR. And this brings actually a huge advantage on latency in your infrastructure. So now let's move forward to the next slide. All right. So just like NVMe over Fabric, LINSTOR is well fitted with the persistent memory. As you know, let me explain a little bit about persistent memory. What is it and why it's important? So you know the memory devices are not persistent. And when you put inside of it some data, then when you power off the machine, the data in the memory is gone forever, right? So, but lately there's a new version of it. And the key thing about memory is super fast, right? And the new version of memory was released in the market lately, and they call it persistent memory. So what makes it hot, right? What's the deal here? So DRBD, our replication technology, has a metadata in it. So, and this metadata helps the DRBD to track the change blocks on each node. And this helps the DRBD to resync if some outage happens on one node. And so let's say one node goes down and up again, and the DRBD knows where it left and just resyncs the missing information, and that's all with metadata. The thing with the metadata, if you put it inside the disk itself that you are write and read, this might become, if you're using, let's say, slow disks, or maybe you are using too much I/O on the disk, this might become a slow bottleneck for the high performance need applications. So therefore, our engineers developed a way to put the metadata in persistent memories, and it actually doubled the performance of replication and the performance of the read and write. So using persistent memory is a huge thing on these kind of environments. Another bullet point that I can mention here is actually it is huge difference is the separated control and data plane. Okay, so this is actually a real hell of a deal, all right? The thing is, with all the rivals, they are not separating it, and this becomes an issue when you want to upgrade or restart your storage systems. And in LINSTOR, from the start, we designed that way so we can automate it, non-destructive upgrades for our clusters. And if something happens on the controller, because it might, you don't have any problem. You just fire another one, connect it, that's it, that's all. Or your satellites, one of the satellite services are down. That's also another problem. You just fire again. Everything was already running because the data plane is running under the LINSTOR. I'm sorry, not under the LINSTOR. It's separated from the LINSTOR. And separating the control plane is also giving us more playground to find issues related with data path. If you have some problems on I/O, if you have some problems with the product, problems with the storage, and we can pinpoint the problem much more easier. So one last thing before I switch to the next slide is, so LINSTOR supports multiple sync options. Actually, this is thanks to the DRBD. And they are synchronous mode, asynchronous mode, and semi-synchronous mode. And this is something most of the products are missing. Maybe they designed that way, I don't know, but they're missing that. And by defining the synchronization types, each resource, you can divide it on each resource. You can easily choose and set up the environment or the resource as you like. For disaster recovery purposes, you can go with the asynchronous mode, which helps you to overcome some networking problems like latency and so on. Or synchronous, you can choose the synchronous mode between the nodes if you like. So that's all I can say about that in here. Now let me go over to the next slide. All right, so until now, I explained a couple of features that separates from our rivals and gives you an advantage over them. And now let me give you some idea that where we are heading, sort of. And every day, me and my colleagues are following the industry and also talking with the big vendors for their needs because they are already using us. Like, I don't think there's no problem mentioning here, like IBM, Western Digital, Lenovo, so much more. And we are talking with them, and then we are driving the LINSTOR into that direction on each version. Each month, I'm recording a video about what is upcoming in the future releases of DRBD and LINSTOR. And they are actually including the insider news from our company meetings. And in order to keep up with the newest features, I highly suggest our attendees here to subscribe our monthly videos on YouTube. Also follow us on Twitter and mailing list and so on. So now I completed my part. If any of you has a question, let's take them on the question and answer part at the end. Now I'm handing over my fellow friend, Will.
Thanks, Yusuf. And just a quick update, our teams worked really hard to get the LINSTOR operator certified and get listed into the Red Hat marketplace. So we're going to send a link right now. Feel free to go check it out. We have a free trial there for our Red Hat OpenShift offering. This also is good for Kubernetes as well too, but it comes back to support if you decide to upgrade or transition over to OpenShift, it won't invalidate any support. So feel free to go and check that out whenever you get a chance. And last but not least, we have a really fast growing community. We have a very exciting community on Slack that's growing all the time. We're gonna send an invite here. Feel free to join. ask any questions you'd like on there. The community is constantly engaging on different topics or ideas around contributing or developing the product. Feel free to join that and let us know if you have any questions. We also have resources on the mailing list, a lot of documentation, and of course, the GitHub. We welcome any contributions into our community and joining the mailing list as well too. So thank you.
And then I just wanted to kind of reiterate that along with all of the competitive analysis that Yusuf did and all the work that went into that, I hope you can see just where LINSTOR kind of differentiates itself and, could really draw some of your own conclusions from that. At the end of the day, I know you still have choices. There's a lot of different options out there, as we can see. I mean, that wasn't even all of them, I don't think. So from my perspective, I've been working here a long time and work very closely with our customers. And I just want to say that we listen to you. So as Yusuf mentioned, we're extremely community driven. I mean, that's how DRBD started, open source, and we take your feedback and suggestions very seriously. So oftentimes, I'll see an email come in, oh, LINSTOR or DRBD doesn't do this particular thing, then we wish it would do it. We address that. So that's something we really pride ourselves on. That's who we are. That's who Phil is. So I just wanted to say thank you, and we're listening. So please do join Slack and join the other LINSTOR webinars coming up this week. We have, I believe, 2 more. There's a case study actually. So LINSTOR is deployed on like 600 nodes for this particular client, and they're going to come chat. And then we also have a developers Q&A, which will be quite fun. So you can just interact with our LINSTOR developers there. So those are tomorrow. Yeah. But otherwise, thank you everyone for coming. Any closing thoughts, or should we just open it up for questions?
We have a question.
Cool.
And the question is, what satellite nodes look like? And what OS they run? Is it VMs, physical host with a physical storage attached? Thanks. So LINSTOR satellite is actually a node, yes, and it has a physical disk storage attached in that, yes. And LINSTOR satellite and the controller is actually just a service that is running in a Linux machine. The distribution can be anyone, anything like CentOS, Ubuntu, you name it. That's all is fine. And the satellite is consuming the local disks on the node and hands over to the controller, and the controller hands over to the application. So basically, the satellites are creating DRBD pairs, DRBD replication pairs in the nodes for you because controller asks for that. And the controller takes this command from, obviously, from VMware, OpenEBLA, Kubernetes for pods, and so on and so on. Yeah. It can be VM, it can be physical machine. As soon as it runs Linux, it's all okay. Yeah. I hope this answers. Okay. Another question, does NVMe over Fabric mode come with a replication? Read one over the network. Okay, I really don't know the answer for that, so I need to check, Piotr. I can get back to you about that later on, if that's fine. Do we have any other question? Can a DRBD setup be upgraded to LINSTOR SDS? Okay, John, thank you for asking this. So basically, yes and no, it depends. And you know what, our sales guys sometimes ask me some questions, and when I say it depends, they hate it. And I know. So, but it depends. It depends on the infrastructure, it depends on the setup, but in theory, yes, it's possible. You can upgrade the DRBD setup to LINSTOR cluster at some point. Yeah. Any more questions?
There is one more in the normal chat.
Oh, okay. Do you plan to offer managed services? Okay, that's not a technical question. That's actually a business question. And I really don't know the answer of that either. I think, well, as far as I know, I think we will stay in the same position as we are right now. But who knows? The future brings. I don't know. But there are some partners, actually, I can mention. There are some partners actually providing the RBD and LINSTOR support in the managed section. So you can buy some managed service from them for your company, because those partners are already have a relationship with us. And if they have a huge problem that they cannot solve, they're coming to us. So that can be a way to have managed LINSTOR or managed DRBD. Okay, bring it on. No more questions? Okay, Zach, I was wondering who's going to ask this question. No, we don't have that support right now. In theory, you can have it through NFS share. You can create an NFS share with the DRBD high availability, and then you can use that as a write many support. But that's how you do it currently in LINSTOR, and not a native way actually. Right now we are only supporting read-write once. And I think read many, write once also is possible. Yeah, read many, write once is also possible, as far as I remember. Another question: other products offer data saving features such as inline compression. And does LINSTOR provide anything like this? If no, anything on the roadmap? So while we built the LINSTOR, we stick with the Linux storage features mostly, all right? Because we don't want to get in the data path. That means this: yes, we support inline compression, but with VDO. So if you are going to use Red Hat's virtual data optimizer, you can have a compression and also an encryption if you like. But that's limited with the VDO right now. And the VDO is only in the Red Hat ecosystem. I know that they are planning to make it on the Linux upstream, but I don't know when. So, by the way, some customers are using it very successfully in their setup.
All right, I'm not seeing any more questions.
I guess so. One thing to mention here also, I forgot to say in the webinar, sorry for that. We also have an appliance for LINSTOR. So you can easily install in any environment as you like. So please check that out too, right? So I forgot to mention, so I want to mention here. Sorry for that. Okay, I think no more questions. Is there a link for the appliance? Yes, Richard, you can just Google it like LINSTOR vSAN, and we can share it with you. Kelsey or Will, can you share it from the chat? Is that possible? Yes, the vSAN is the keyword. So it's act like a vSAN, and it works like a vSAN, but it's much more cheaper with the support of DRBD and LINSTOR in your environment. Okay, does LINSTOR support, okay, we have two more questions. Does the LINSTOR support snapshot shipping? yes, we lately integrated into LINSTOR, and you can easily use the snapshot shipping feature with LINSTOR, even if it's LVM on the backend or DFS. Both are supported. And please, another question, please let me know. Please let me know if you have the latest roadmap for LINSTOR. Actually, to see what's on the roadmap, I suggest you to watch our YouTube videos, and one is on live right now, and the other one is coming, and we are releasing our roadmap on those videos, so please check them out, right? But what I can say right now, erasure coding is coming, and some of the features in Kubernetes are developing, and shared storage support is here, and so on and so on. All right, will LINSTOR be packaged and added to distros? So John, the thing is with the open source community, so open source version of the products is, so we basically serve the products in that you can compile it yourself, right? The thing is, if you want a packaged version, a pre-compiled version, you have to buy support from Limbit. But there is one way to not have a support and packaged ones of the LINSTOR and the RBD is if you are using Ubuntu, and you will have the PPA repository, and in that you will find LINSTOR and DRBD pre-compiled packages. They might not be too updated, but we are trying to be updated as possible on those repositories. But if you want, also, by the way, DRBD is already included in the Linux kernel, but it's too old. It's like 8.4 right now, I think, maybe 8.3. I don't really remember right now. And the DRBD 9 is actually right now is preparing for the Linux upstream. But the LINSTOR is a product that you need to compile yourself, or you can use the PPAs for gathering them. All right, another question. Is there any type of reporting of used storage versus allocated storage in LINSTOR? Thanks for asking this, anonymous attendee. So reporting was our only weak point on LINSTOR, but that has changed a lot for the past months. Right now, we are supporting Prometheus, and we are making it better every day. So you can get really good metrics from out of the LINSTOR. And we also have a LINSTOR GUI on the market. You can just check it through the Google also. That's also an open source version. And with these two guys, you can easily have a reporting right now, and in the future, it will be a lot more detailed. Right now, it's like a basic reporting, but at the end, you will have, I mean, at the end, it's really close future. At the end, you will have a really, really extensive reporting out of LINSTOR. Because some of our clusters are so huge, like the latest one I heard is like 495 nodes, and they have like 1,450 something resources in that cluster. So reporting is really important here. We know that, and our couple of developers are only working for that feature to become really mature right now. Yeah. When I lose my faith about questions, one question is appearing from nowhere. Do we have any questions? I guess no.
That was a lot of questions. Thank you for answering all those, Yusuf.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for asking, guys.
All right, guys. Well, thank you again for attending today. We're going to close up the webinar now. Recording will be sent over within a few days. So yeah, thanks again for joining. And it was nice chatting with you all.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.